Well, hello and welcome to our November edition of the Simple Farms LLC podcast, joined by Scott Scheimer here today. Of course, he is the creator and the founder of the app, which we'll be talking about. He is also the owner of Scheimer Farms in Cheyenne Wells, Colorado, which is East Central Colorado. And unlike other areas of Eastern Colorado, like me, you received some moisture here recently. You've been waiting and holding out for that.
Yeah, we're finally feeling like the lucky ones, Lori. It's spotty, like everybody's seen all year. Just within our 60-mile radius of our farm, we got areas that are still dry as can be, only got 3/10, and other areas that got over 2.5 inches of rain. And a nice slow one in cool weather, so it's the good rain.
That being said, Scott, when it comes to harvest, did you get all of your crops out then?
I know everybody thinks I'm nuts. I guess we stretch ourselves out, stretch our iron out. So our goal is always to wrap up harvest by Thanksgiving. So that's the path we're on right now. And we take it slow and easy. I don't push the guys hard. We've been doing millet, then corn, soybeans, and we haven't even touched the milo. Usually I wait for that good hard freeze. Halloween, boom, we got it. And that usually finishes curing out our milo. So we'll be getting at that. 2 more days of corn picking, and then we'll be on the milo.
What about on the livestock side of things, Scott? What are you currently doing there?
Yep, fencing stocks, guys. Since we had a little bit of drizzle the other day, the crops were a little wet yet on the corn end, and the ground was still a little black. I don't like running the combines across that black soil, getting the compaction for next year's no-tills. So we kind of been taking it slow there, fencing stocks, and looking to move cattle tomorrow onto stocks that we've already picked.
All right. And so all of these things, as we are using the Simple Farms app, the margin analysis tool, you can pop that open and just note in there, got rain, end of October.
You can. You could actually select the field and put in notes when you did the rain, when you got the rain. I don't do that in the Simple Farms program. What we do notes on are we're moving the cattle onto it because we're custom grazing the stocks. And so we just put in there what revenue point we'll generate from grazing those stocks and add that to that year's profitability or at least some cash flow in the analysis.
As of right now, what are some of the things that you are working on to prepare for 2025 on the farm?
Well, everybody's probably out there getting contacted by their seed suppliers. It's time to make next year's decision on your corn, milo, soybean seed, sunflower seed. Yeah, I've been sitting down with our seed dealers and looking at varieties and performances and calling neighbors, see what was successful for them as well on different seed varieties. And already, Lori, it's time to make those decisions, whether we do our prepays or we wait a little bit to do our booking.
As far as what you're using the app for at this time of the year, what are some suggestions you have?
So it's like I try to tell everybody is the program gives you perspective. It's not going to answer all your questions, but what we do is we look into it, look at varieties, historicals, and what's performed for us in our margin levels, and not necessarily just yield is seed cost relative to what its production was. And these margins are so tight, we look at it that way too. It's just looking at the seed varieties and how they performed and just making those decisions there. The other one is, as everybody knows too, is we're constantly competing against different weeds. Pigweed's our big ugly one, grass pressures, depending on the season. So we're also making our decision on our pre-emerge process, what we're going to put out for pre-emerge, when we're going to do it. And I use Simple Farms to do that. What did we do last year in product-wise? When did we spray that? And how was our success there? So I use the program just to get perspective of what we had done historically and what our plan is going forward.
Scott, with the winter season pretty much here, I know this is a big time that you attend meetings and conferences. Tell me a little bit more about what you do there and what kind of interaction you have.
Yeah, that's right, Lori. I know Kearney, Nebraska is one of our early ones here in a couple of weeks. We've been invited to go to different shows around the area, down in Garden City, in that area. We're going to go meet with customers down there and just talk to their neighbors and everybody else, and little shows and private shows. There's some farmers that sell goods and services, and they've invited us to come speak to their customer base as well.
Well, sounds like you are going to be pretty busy out and about. Coming back here and talking about the app specifically, Scott, let's talk about exactly how you use it, what's included, some of the features, and how it makes farmers' lives easier.
All right. The end result of the program is for you to figure out what it costs you to raise that bushel of grain and where you need to market it at. That's the end result of the program. So what you do is you set up your own personal farm on it, your fields, your inputs, your equipment. It all has a value to it. You set up your personal values, and then we use the program on our cell phone to track our daily operations. So today we're going out and drilling our last field of rye. My guy's going to be putting 3 different products in, liquid fertilizers in furrow along with the rye, and a biological that's treated on the rye. So what he'll do is enter that field on his cell phone, the machine he's in, and what the inputs are down to the per acre. So he'll be doing 51 pounds per acre of rye with a treatment of biologicals and 6 gallons per acre of a mixture of fertilizers. And that's what he'll enter in the phone. All those already have a value. We then just put that into an analysis for the 25 rye for that field, and we know exactly what our cost per acre is for that rye at this point in time. And then when we go out and top dress, we'll run another scenario on the phone, put it in the analysis. So there might be 4 or 5 operations with different inputs, products, and everything. And then when we go to harvest, whatever our yield is, we put that in there, and it can tell us exactly what the break even needs to be, or we can put in our price point of what we've sold that rye for or anticipate to, and it'll tell us our margin level. So that at all times we know exactly what it's costing us to take care of those acres and where we need to be pricing this product at.
What are common questions that you get at some of these shows, whether it be current users or potential new user customers?
A lot of people want this to read their mind. I think that's probably the toughest part, Lori. Wondering about integration, where they're already setting up on JD Ops or Field View or some of the other programs out there when these guys get to the field. And Simple Farms is a standalone. There's no integration. So I tell guys, you've got your farm set up on Simple Farms. It takes 30 seconds to run the operation and put it into an analysis. We're not integrated with anything else. So you take a little time to set up your JD Ops. You get to auto steering through the field. Then you just do Simple Farms. I tell everybody it's not solving everything on your farm. It's a tool in your toolbox. We all have different tools in the toolbox for different aspects, and it's just one tool. We're not trying to solve everything with the program.
All right. And you and I have mentioned this in the past, but what are some future updates that you have in store?
So our big one right now that the team has designed and we're presenting to Locust is the carbon market. So the program will ask all those questions that are asked when you're in the carbon credit program, which are a little outside of just what Simple Farms has. And so if you register a field in the carbon market, it'll open up more tabs to ask some of those questions. Some of them are that we don't have in the program. How deep did you till? How much residue was retained or removed when you did that operation? Just a few of those extra questions that we didn't have in Simple Farms, but we felt like it was such an easy data collection platform as adding a few of those features would then satisfy the carbon market questions. And that's a growing field still. That's still ever changing. I talk to the gals that are doing the data entries on their end, and they find it very difficult. A lot of producers just don't have any way of collecting all that information. So it's a lot of dialogue between the two. And, a lot of us, I can't remember what I did 3 days ago on that field. So it's nice to have all that in there. They'll be able to extract that, but it'll keep out your financials. It'll keep out, they don't need to know what you did in chemicals. They only need your fertility program. So when you register a field and it's extracting the carbon structure, the program will actually shift in its filtration so that only what's needed to be disclosed in the carbons exists in there. So that's kind of a really fun, neat feature we're putting in. And we had a customer the other day have some questions. They wanted to filter to see what chemicals they had put on a certain field or on their farm that year, just certain chemical. And it's in the database, and I'm right there with them. I want to do the same thing to see it on my farm. So those are all in our little menu that we're trying to save up. And as Simple Farms keeps growing and getting customers, when a customer asks for those features, love to be able to put them in eventually. That's our goal. And that's what we've been doing.
You keep a running list.
We do. I have a drawer right next to me here, and it has a file in it that's our wish list. And we present that to the development team all the time, and they give us a budget. And then we go through the menu and say, well, this is what we've got for the next quarter or the next 6 months. And we're developing it into the program along with fixing bugs. There's always bugs, and we're always trying to stay ahead. Every time updates occur in any of these programs, right now we've got to actually work with Google. There's some things we got to do with them in the background, and it always takes a little time and money to fix all those things.
It's just normal. That's just part of the process. So
It is. The biggest fear for me has always been is just having that ultimate crash. It just scares the heck out of me. And we really try to spend a lot of time with the team and make sure that we're always on solid footing, because the last thing I want is our customers to go a week without the program functioning. I'm not saying it won't happen, but knock on wood, so far we've done very, very well. The team has been excellent.
And it works on all different devices, right? There's not an issue with iPhone versus the other systems that are, I can't even think of the other.
Yeah, the Android.
Thank you.
Yeah. So for me, Lori, I have 2 cell phones actually. I try not to give out one number at all because I run an Android and an iOS, and then I run on Verizon and Apple and AT&T, and just to make sure I'm always watching that our program's functioning on all those platforms. And it's on separate platforms. So that was a big cost when we designed and built Simple Farms, was we could build it as one piece or we could build it in separate pieces. But if one goes down, it takes it all down. So we spent some extra money to make sure it stayed up on all platforms and was separate.
Even though it may not speak to other systems, what will make it really easy for someone in their taxes and trying to get those numbers pulled together is you can just look at all those, it generates those numbers, it pulls them right up for you. And you can literally take them from the app and then plug them into the system that you're using.
Yeah, exactly, Lori. Everything in it can be put out in a PDF format, however you want to look at it, or printable. And you're exactly right. Probably even bigger than the tax end is our dialogue with cash flow with the loan officer for the next year. We're getting ready to go next year. We look at our historicals, what we've done. We use that as our scenario for the next year of how we're going to spend money on inputs. And it just gives us quick perspective and reference of what we're doing on the farm from last year to the next year, cash flow wise even.
Scott, what else would you like to mention here today?
I think the biggest thing is I'm kind of glad we got that big freeze. We've been kind of waiting on the Milo. It was a tough year. The Milo suckered out, and so we had green heads out there, and we had to wait before we could cut it. Now we got the hard freeze. We're going to be able to rock and roll on Milo, and I think meet our little goal deadline of being done before Thanksgiving, which is exciting for the crew mostly.
Yeah. All right, Scott. Well, I wish you a great rest of your harvest here. I think even when you and I talked to this time last year, but even visiting with other producers, you always get to the very end and then it feels like there's something that comes up and it just stalls you out. And then you're like, oh, I just have that little bit left.
It used to bother me, Lori, but now I enjoy it. I just know that time will come and we don't stress so much about it. I have a huge pile on my desk of paperwork that needed to be addressed. That little break has given us a little pivot. Even the guys have enjoyed it. A little service, a little extra attention to the equipment that has needed some attention that we kind of push through. These little breaks, we used to stress about it, and anymore I just take it with stride and kind of thankful for it. It's like a little holiday.
Scott Scheimer with me here today. He is a creator and the founder of the Simple Farms LLC app. And where do we go to take a look at that app?
Yeah, you can check us out at simplefarms.ag. and reach us in the same way.
Once again, Scott Scheimer joining me for today's show. He is the creator and the founder of the Simple Farms LLC app margin analysis tool and also owns Scheimer Farms in Cheyenne Wells, Colorado. I'm Lori Boyer.